You mentioned 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. My first part of this question is, how long should somebody be practicing this before they start to see the noticeable effects? I'm sure like there's going to be like effects immediately, but the noticeable ones, how long will that take for somebody to start to see?
Immediately, of course, you said it, but I want to emphasize it. As soon as you started something, you feel something different, something already there. Of course, the first time, depends on the individual's stress level, and all of that is different. We are all different. We have our own, what you have eaten before or not, how you slept the night before, if you're coming out of a stressful situation and all that. But doesn't mean, that if you come rested, it's you have certainly going to have better results than somebody who's stressed. Sometimes the contrast makes the one who is very stressed feel something deep. And sometimes those who are rested will feel something deep and deeper because they don't have so much stress. So it really is very personal. Mm-hmm. But within few days, there is something that happens. And what's happening is so natural that it grows with you. And that's why it's really so enjoyable to do. It's not something you feel, oh, now I have had a long day's work and I have to do one more thing. Maybe my exercise, okay, fine, I like it. But again, to sit and do something more, I don't feel like it. But that's not the way it works. Actually, transcendental meditation, you're really looking forward. You're just finding the time you want to do it. And you sit, and it gives you so much rest that afterwards, you feel you're starting a new day almost. And so we do it usually morning before breakfast and in the late afternoon before dinner, because it's good not to have full stomach, because during digestion, the blood flow goes mostly to the digestive system. So, there are all these details that one learns during the 3 days of follow-up after instruction. And so within few days, definitely you feel something, and this grows and gets more deep and deep as it grows. People go in their life through ups and downs and moments where they're feeling better, moments they're feeling low. And these ups and downs reduce, and then the upside stays more. But there can be sometimes, based on activity and life conditions and all that, there can be still variation, but it keeps going up and keeps going up. And the feeling of inner peace and settlement gets more and more stabilized with time. And, of course, it's very personal, but weeks, we can say, days for others. A few will take, a month or something.
Yeah, one of the standard meditation I heard once on a podcast, you have to do it really for about 14 to 21 days to really start to see it. And you have to do a certain amount per day. And then that's when it becomes something where you actually will notice. And I think I said this before, right? Like the best explanation that this person was able to provide was that it gives you space between the thing that happens and how you respond. And like that was the best way I could understand the reason I was doing it, because yes, all these health benefits, that's fantastic. But like if I'm doing this to be more productive or to reach my potential, so kind of how does it help my days? And that is something, that space, like to not be so reactive to the world that happens to you, but to choose how you respond to all the events that are around you. If that makes sense,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This is the same in that sense. Only it happens naturally and spontaneously and profoundly. So the space is so deep and profound that you have it all the time. That's what we call actually higher states of consciousness. So, there is transcending, and this also you learn during the 3 days. Mm-hmm. There is transcending, which going beyond, and therefore you dive deep and you experience your deep self, which is a state of quiet and silence. And then you act. And as you go in, diving in and acting, this state of inner silence stays with you longer than before. And ultimately, you reach a state where you are always established in that state of transcendence, even while you are acting. So that state, therefore, of not being a football of situation and circumstances, but being a witness from a platform of broad comprehension and great intelligence and understanding, this is the space. And the space becomes infinite in a sense, because the objects do not anymore disrupt your peace, disrupt your quietness, disrupt your intelligence. And you are sitting there and acting from a platform of broad understanding, broad vision, yet ability to focus very deeply. We have a name even for this. We call it cosmic consciousness. When you are established in the self, and then you perform action based on a platform of stability and strength, we call this enlightenment even, or the state of where you know yourself and you never lose touch with yourself when you are exposed to the outer objects of life.
So in the pursuit of realizing one's full potential, even if that's even possible, it feels like it's more of a pursuit than it is like a destination, right? But let's say that there's this pursuit to reach a person's full potential. Is it correct to say that through transcendental meditation, by connecting with the deepest, most quietest part of who you are and being able to listen to that, because it's so full of all the stuff around for just for our whole lives, but, just being able to get through all that and to really listen to what it is that you want, and then creating the decision of the things which you want to pursue, that combination, with the ability to not listen to all the noise, is the way to reach a person's full potential?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is not contrived. This is very important. If you try to do it on a contrived level, you divide your mind. This has to be a spontaneous situation that one grows in. And it becomes something that becomes natural and spontaneous through transcending. So there is transcending, acting, transcending, acting, transcending, acting. And now the transcending starts to permeate your action. Normally, when you see something, you see a flower, it takes over your consciousness. Your consciousness becomes the flower in a sense. You hear a sound, you hear something, it becomes, for a moment, this is your consciousness. For a moment, the other moment, it's a feeling. The other moment is a thought. The other moment is a worry. The other moment is some event, something happened. What's going to happen in the future? Your consciousness is always taken over by these moments and moments. This is what is called in the ancient knowledge from which this technique comes, because this is not a technique I invented or anyone invented. It's been thousands of years. It comes from yoga. It's the supreme level of yoga, which is unifying value. And in this, what it used to be called boundary, you are bound by the object. And then you are liberated. They call it liberation or self-liberation and self-realization. Because when you are always the self, yourself is never forgotten, and yet you act in the field, you are liberated from the boundaries of the objects of perception, and you are established in the field of the self. And your self is full. It is the source of creativity and intelligence. It's pure consciousness, which what we discussed is the unbounded ocean of consciousness from which all energy and intelligence and creativity come. So you're established on that platform. So you have peace and happiness and fullness, and you're acting from the platform which contains all the variables, because it is the source of the management of the entire universe, because that is the field, and in physics they call it the unified field of the laws of nature. And from that field, you are acting. So that is self-actualization in its supreme level. That is self-realization. That is also liberation from the boundaries of this. And that's why in this ancient terminology, they call it enlightenment, where you actually are not bound by smallness, but living in wholeness.